Welcome to Surviving South London. South London, one of the most notorious places in the UK. You've heard these cities in the headlines, on the news reports. But here, in Surviving South London, we take you inside, like never before, on a global scale, in these streets, in the heart of these hoods.
So in school, and it was mad because it was like from year 7, yeah? You're doing your journal, they're showing you around the school. My school was on from day one. Where are you from? I'm from Brixton. My postcode is SW9. Automatically meant you was a Brixton boy. I was like, huh? I live in Brixton, but I've never been. I don't know what this war is about. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how it started. I don't know where we are in this war. I just knew it was Brixton and Peckham. And every day was a war. So I'm talking, you might hear a couple of remember we're saying olders, you know. I'm in year 7, year 8. Olders will be in year 10, year 11. But when I'm looking at year 10s and 11s, they look like big grown men. They look like grown women. So when they're having a mad scuffle, I'm thinking, oh my God, this looks like madness. And then when it's filtering down, when it's coming into my age group, I just got used to just hanging around people from Brixton, because then it got to the point where we had to go home together, we had to jump on the train together, we had to stick to it. It was literally a thing like we just had to stick together. Again, a lot of my friends in my class were from Peckham. So the only thing I knew about Peckham was Katie's, Maddest Chicken Shop. All I knew was Cracker Jacks, and we had a fireworks shop, Mr. Wong's fireworks shop. And everybody knows about it. If you was in my age group, you knew the only place where we can get works was Mr. Wong's fireworks shop. Again, I remember just pulling up there, a couple of my brethren to buy fireworks, and we saw all of the firehouse man them. We saw all of the yellow brick man them. And we had girls going, "Oi, Brixton youths are here!" My heart was pumping out of my chest. I was like year 10. My heart was pumping out of my chest. And again, it's because of the whole clout thing in school. They was like, "Are you mad? These youths are cool. These youths, they go to my school." What literally saved my butter. Saved all of my brethren's butter. Do you see what I'm saying? But that is what we was literally going through from like year 7 to like even college. A lot of people in my school died. So there was someone who got stabbed in their throat in McDonald's in Camberwell, one of the twins. He was from Peckham. There was a lot of gang warfare, Burgess Park events. We couldn't go there. Our spot was Country Show. So when we used to go Country Show was a movie. It was literally Brixton, Tulse Hill, Brixton Hill. Like, no one would ever think about coming to Country Show. So that was kind of, our little patch. Do you see what I'm saying? And again, my mindset was never on, doing badness, doing harm. I just literally, that was literally just never in my thoughts. Going back onto my estate, there was a lot of neglect. There was a lot of trauma, because again, a lot of my friends who I still have till today, their parents was on drugs. Their parents decided just to leave home. For us, we're seeing it as, a free yard. But if you actually think about it, the mum left the country, and there was literally a 4-year-old and there was an 11-year-old, because we was 11, and he was left to his own devices, So a lot of the things that I learned from growing up in that trauma, again, going Brixton Hill, prostitution, going into Woolworths, stealing uniform, a lot of my friends not having food in their fridge, going to Quick Save with my spending money. Despite me not being able to read and write, I was still able to put food in people's fridges, and this was from like 13, 14. I not learned to cut my own hair, but I used to use shears that my uncle used to use and cut my friend's hair, because he was not able to he couldn't afford to go to barbers.
It was like a cool thing to be Jamaican, and that was challenging because I'm Guyanese and Jamaican, and I couldn't not acknowledge my Guyanese side, because my Guyanese side is strong, like, big up my Guyanese people. But yeah, growing up in that time, it stems back from like the 70s, the 60s, even the 50s, like when we came over, the Windrush era, like Jamaicans were like a good population, and they had a zero tolerance as well. So when, like, you know, the skinheads and the NF and such were here and they were trying to fight, like the Jamaican people getting up and kind of rallying together and saying, you're not going to do that. And especially like the Rastafarians, they were having like a zero tolerance. So they kind of helped to protect and bring together the community at that time. And so I think that's why everyone wanted to be Jamaican. And it's only now that people are embracing their other cultures, to be honest with you. Like, it's only now people are embracing, like, yeah, I'm Guyanese, I'm from Trinidad, I'm Dominican, I'm Ghanaian, I'm Nigerian or whatever. Because back in the day, it's like everyone just wanted to be Jamaican. And it's such a small island, but it's had such a large impact. Living in Brixton, the impact of Yardis was significant. You could see it everywhere. Like, it was all over us, from your click suits to your slick suits to your marina, your desert boots, your ballets, your leather cap, like in the house. If you didn't have the little leather stool there, I don't know what you were doing. It just became like something that we could tap into, people that looked like us. And we embraced it. Like, it was rife. Like, you had the front line, so you had man with his roll-up trousers and his diamond socks and his ballet or his Clarks, or, you know, there was an influx of Yardis, because there's a distinct difference between Yardis and Jamaican. So my grandparents are Jamaican, churchgoers, very religious, very very cultural. And then Yardis was a bit of a darker side of things. And I think with that, you know, you start to get the chopperita and the badman and those type of things. And it got a bit dark from being a child, and I was very much in and around it because of family members and such. You know, Bounty Killer that was talking about revolution and, you know, the government and poor people are fed up and these are the things we need to change. At the same time, we were like talking about you have to shoot down or lick down somebody. You got to do something. So that was the kind of Yardie type influence. And yes, you had the nicer music where, you know, walk like a champion and that sort of stuff. But you could see the change happening locally. You started to hear more about, you know, murders and stuff like this. Definitely while I was in secondary school, there was a change. I can remember us like wearing the gold earrings and the Nike with the tick earrings and the gun earrings. Like, you could tell there was a change because it wasn't so airy-fairy. Like, why were we wearing gun earrings at 12 and 13? You know? So yeah, it was definitely a change. Like, I'd say like 92, 93. There was definitely a change, and that change was present in my family as well, like in terms of like, you know, people that were marrying into the family, and there was a safety around it as well, to be honest with you. Like, if you had that around you, you definitely felt safe. Not that you should feel unsafe, but you knew if anything happens, you could call Uncle so-and-so. So yeah, there was definitely a change, and you could feel it. Like murder your mama, papa, father. Like, there was loads of stuff just going on at that time. I started to realise, like maybe 95, 96, that time, that things were changing. You know, you could hear that people were getting, you know, it weren't punch-ups anymore. Like, there was real stuff happening. whether it was stabbings and shootings and stuff like that. Like RIP to loads of people that I personally knew that passed away. So yeah, there was definitely a change in the culture, and you didn't feel as safe, even as a girl, you know. And if you had siblings and cousins and brothers, you definitely started to feel a bit nervous about them being outside. And sometimes as girls, we don't actually know what's happening. We're not aware until something happens and you're like, oh, you know, what's going on? So yeah, there was definitely a change and a culture shift. And I feel, just from the outlet, I feel like when there was a larger Yardie presence, I felt like the man them, wherever they were, they had to kind of rise to the occasion, because they weren't going to allow people to just come into their area and just do whatever they wanted. So they had to up their game, I guess, to keep kind of like their area as theirs, you know?
Well, I moved around to loads of different venues and clubs, but I didn't really reach Peckham because I was quite well known around Brixton area. So I was a bit like nervous going past Campbell Green, to be fair. So I sort of stayed over this side. Like in Brixton, most people that was anyone knew who I was. A lot of my friends were like 28s and stuff like that around about that period of time. So I ended up going clubbing. I see some of them, they go, "Yo, D, come look after you," you know what I mean? So I had all them sort of people, like, and I used to follow Jumping Jack Frost anywhere he went in South, you know. So Frosty for me was the godfather for me, because he come from Brixton and I lived across the road from where he grew up, and I was born around the corner from where he grew up. So yeah, all them sort of sound systems and the clubs and the music on the street was just a way of life, you know. So for me personally, I didn't go to all the massive clubs all the time. I was more of a house party sort of guy. I played in a couple of big clubs as a DJ for a short period of time, and I sort of hung my decks up in 1998 when my daughter was born, which changed my whole life. For me, like going out clubbing at a certain period, like you didn't know what was gonna happen. Some of them raves started getting a bit rowdy, you know, the So Solid mob come on the scene, so sort of the streets really reached the clubs then. You know, people weren't dressing up to go clubbing, they were dressing with the Avrexes on, or, you know what I mean? So like it changed the whole genre of what I was listening to. So while So Solid was like, that was for me, that was an uplifting part of my life on the street, listening to them come around. The jungle era, they didn't like jungle because it was too aggressive, there's too much going on, too much drugs in the scene. You know, I was quite lucky because I was always behind the scenes, so I didn't really get out into the club land, mashing the place up. I was either behind helping or doing some running around, trying to, you know, make some moves and make some money. All my mates would go clubbing, I was the one that was driving. Bro, I grew up in Acre Lane was when my main teenage years started, really. And all my friends were from the Caribbean. You know, back then it was kind of weird because no one really see colour. Like all my brothers, I just knock for Junior, or I go around and knock for Big, or I go and knock for Bulmy. I just go and knock for these people, and like we'd all hang around together. It's nothing. It didn't really have any effect. The effect for me with who I was is when people said to me, "Oh, you talk like this," and why are you talking like that for? Well, because that's where I was from. I grew up in a period where the language was changing from Cockney into street slang. Loads of stuff was going on in the mid-90s, especially in Brixton. There was a lot of shootings happening, a lot of violence, a lot of robberies. Gangs were coming together, like the 28s were sort of disappearing, and then you started having the PDC and Gas Gang and all them. I was still running around in between all these guys, like they were just doing their thing. I never paid no attention, you know what I mean? So for me, I was watching all these youngsters grow up and going to different areas, doing different things, and you know, I was just thinking to myself, I'm glad I just never went down that road. People that I know went into that sort of that avenue, and it's never a good place to be. But yeah, for me personally, one of the major times I remember is when I was with one of my friends and the car got shut up. You know, I mean, that was in Acre Lane, but we never, still to this day, we don't know who it was, we don't know what happened, and someone just took a disliking to one of us. And I just fortunate enough I'm still here, you know. For me personally, it's like one of the first real big shootings happened on Notre Dame Estate, and I knew the guy from around the pub scene. Like I used to run in and out of the pubs with my friends, so we'd go in and do a bit of business here, do a bit of business there. But one of the guys used to run a bit of the roads down there, and he got shot, and really that sort of changed my whole perspective on trying to live the street life, you know. So it ain't a thing that you're gonna succeed in. And there's a young kid that was my brother's little friend, and he's my friend as well, and he got shot. Oh, man, I just feel like crying when I talk about him. You know what I mean? So facts, man. Just he was only a baby, man. He's early 20s, you know. Thinking about him, to be fair, like he got shot right outside my mum's house. You know, my little sister found him. So that was gutting, and I was already a family man by that point, you know. So I already had kids and I was living my life, and you just go show you how short your life can be. And he was going out raving that night. He was just walking through an alleyway, you know. It's obviously something happened, and someone decided that he wasn't gonna be here no longer. Any help with anything that happened, like in them events, like mentally for people that come from our area, it don't exist, you know, unless you go looking for it. And most of us don't go looking for it. You know, it just happens, and you got to get on with it, you know? So for me personally, something like that, and seeing someone so young go that quick and to the level it did, I think as someone from an estate in South London, it was just one of these things. You had someone get stabbed and got killed. But when it's actually right on your doorstep, it changes the whole perspective. But yeah, I would never ever seek out counselling for something like that, because we were so used to that sort of lifestyle.
If you haven't lived it, you'll never get used to it. In the next episode, I'll take you back to the beginning and see how this all started.